Hi folks, today I want to share my incredible big long wish list of Sony cameras that I would love to get in 2024 and that are very likely to be announced by Sony, but I do think Sony should take my list into consideration and really make those cameras, because it's about time they think out of the box and release something very different. Some of those actually ideas are not totally coming out of my fantasy world, because there are Sony patents that actually do support that Sony is thinking in some kind of new direction. So it's going to be a very interesting video. But before that, please take 2 seconds time to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button to not miss any of the upcoming rumors. There are basically 4 cameras that I wish Sony would make, and I hope that maybe one of those cameras will be announced in 2024. The first camera that I would love to get is a kind of alpha E-mount camera with a bigger body. Imagine the A99 E-mount camera that we had many years ago, but with E-mount. And the reason why I believe this is an important camera is the following. First of all, there are photographers out there that are not satisfied with the usability of the current small alpha cameras. Having small cameras is certainly for some people very important. It allows you to carry easily the camera with you and so forth. But having a bigger cameras helps those photographers, for example, use the camera in rugged, difficult condition with gloves, so they need a bigger button and a bigger grip. Also, people having bigger hands. There is also an advantage of having the possibility to have a more broader and fogged out layout, for example having a top LCD screen and the bigger buttons or more buttons. And I do believe there's also a technological advantage, because having a bigger camera gets rid of possible overheating issues, so you can have, for example, 8K 60p with longer time recording without overheating issue. Maybe you can also fit a better and improved image stabilization inside. So I do believe Sony should, for example, do a sort of A7R5 copy in a bigger body, and it wouldn't cost them too much to do it. The sensor is fine, the technology is fine, just give us a bigger body, redesigned body, something that has a bit more also an emotional design. But yeah, I don't think this is going to happen, but this would be my very first camera that I would love to get in 2024. The second camera I would love to get from Sony is a new medium format camera. In that realm, we only had players like Fuji and Hasselblad, and those cameras are really selling well, and I do believe that Sony should tap into this market by announcing a new interchangeable system medium format camera. I'm even going so far to think if it would make sense to use an even larger sensor than the one used by the Hasselblad X2D and the Fuji GFX cameras. I know Sony is making those kind of sensors. They go up to 150 megapixels. Maybe it would be an overkill, but I do believe there is a small percentage of photographers that really have the money and want to spend the money to get something that is different. Maybe one day this will happen. Sony did patent a couple of medium format cameras, so they are surely thinking about it, but I got no evidence that they will release such a camera in 2024, but fingers crossed, I might be surprised. The third camera that I wish to be announced in 2024 is the new RX1 fixed lens full frame camera with curved sensor. We know that Sony patented a couple of curved sensor technologies, so they're really capable of making a curved sensor. Probably the main issue is to manufacture it in a way that it's not too expensive, but having a RX fixed lens camera with curved sensor, like I told you in my previous video, would be something completely new on the market, something that would really wow us, bring excitement, and also make a lot of sense on a fixed frame, full frame model, because the curved sensor needs a lens that is designed completely in a different way. So it would make sense, for example, to make an alpha E-mount interchangeable camera with curved sensor, because all the current E-mount lenses wouldn't work on this camera. You would have to redesign all lenses. But on a fixed lens RX model, you can make one lens that really fits this camera, and this lens would be much smaller and also brighter and super sharp corner by corner and really create an image quality that is top notch. So I would love to get this model. Let's see if Sony will really do it. The fourth model that I would love to get from Sony is something that is not technology related, but something more design and emotional related. As you know, there's a big trend for many manufacturers to release vintage camera models. Nikon released the ZF, Canon will likely release a new vintage model in 2024. There's even a rumor that OM Digital will revive the Pen F design, and I do believe Sony should think about finally making a camera that also looks great and different. As you know, the current alpha cameras are basically having the same design for all lineups. Even the E7C lineup is basically a E7 camera without the EVF, and I do believe there is a need from photographers to have a beautiful camera. After all, the camera is an object you always carry on you and with you, like a bag or something else that you always see on people, and it's simply nice to have a camera that looks good and you love to take it with you and also show to people. There is some vanity in it, I know, but the world is also made of beautiful things that are not necessary but give you some smile. So I would love if Sony would, for example, make a new kind of camera that is based on an old Minolta camera design or on the Zeiss Icon design, or even start from scratch to make a camera starting from the design and not the technology inside. And I do believe there's a market for that, and I do believe this would finally make Sony more appealing for more classic thinking photographers, or even for the younger generation that loves to have vintage cameras. There is some kind of trend on TikTok and other social networks where you see a lot of 20-30-year-old people using vintage camera, even film cameras. So I do believe Sony shouldn't miss out on that trend. So those were the 4 cameras I would love to get, and now I'll give you a small bonus that is completely crazy, okay? The 5th camera I would love to get, and it's never going to happen, would be the Sony E-mount film camera. You know, having a Sony alpha camera that takes 35mm film rolls. There is a trend among young people and even older people to use film cameras for a couple of reasons. First of all, for the authenticity you get, because you have a chemical proof that you're getting an image, so there is no AI behind it or no too much of photoshopping. You have a proof that this is a real shot. The second thing is that film gives you an instant style. You don't have to Photoshop, work a lot, or think about what kind of style you want. You buy the film with the style you need and use it, and people seems to really love it. I still shoot film, so I really love this aspect, and it would be nice to have a Sony E-mount camera that takes the current E-mount lenses and shoots film. This is just something I'm putting out there. Probably Sony engineers are laughing at me at the moment, but for me, you know, it's Christmas time, so I can say whatever I want, and I want to hear from you now which of my wish list or dream list you would love to get, or if you have any other ideas, so please comment below this YouTube video. I will read your comments and maybe do also a poll on sonyalpharumors.com to see what all the people are thinking about our dream cameras that Sony are likely not going to do, but maybe Sony will change mind if they see that people is really interested in some of those kind of cameras. Folks, that was really it. If you like this video, please like it so that I get a bit of a boost on the YouTube algorithm, and also subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss any of my real upcoming rumors about real cameras and not dreams, okay? See you soon, folks.